YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. This is an important video that everybody out there should see. Every year since I've started doing this, which is over a decade now, I cover the Super Bowl ads. And I don't cover it because it gets a lot of views. I cover it because the Super Bowl is the most watched show in the United States of America. And it borderlines on being the most watched show in the entire world. People tune in just to see the commercials, which means that the government who runs these corporations like Amazon and Tesla, who you believe are just independent entrepreneurs who come up with these ideas, who are selling you government DARPA technology, every year they focus on the Super Bowl because the most eyes are glued to the TV, and they have to put out the most propaganda they can to convince you into accepting their next level of enslavement technology. Yes, they use the Super Bowl for ideologies, and everybody focuses in on, oh, there's trans in an ad, oh, there's this in an ad. Everybody needs to focus in on the technology they're normalizing because they are bringing in a technocracy, a government controlled through artificial intelligence, which will make every one of us a slave. And that is not paranoia. This is a perfect example to show you what the future looks like and how they play off of the emotions of the sheeple. Everybody loves pets, right? Except, of course, witches, who are the ones who really are responsible for sacrificing. When witches and cats go missing, it's not because somebody drives by your home and thinks you have a sexy cat and wants to take your cat home instead of just going to Petco or PetSmart or somewhere else and adopting a cat that needs a family. You're supposed to believe that these people just see your dog and they go, that's the most beautiful, you know what, I'm going to risk going to jail. Just steal that person's dog. Animals have gone missing because of animal sacrifice, just like humans go missing because of human sacrifice. So they're using dogs as they've done in the past, and cats with microchips. We live in a world now where people have grown so cold to one another, they actually care more about animals than they do human beings, which is a sad reality that we're living in. But this commercial is important because I want you to see this is how they're going to manipulate people into normalizing this Ring technology. Remember, I've talked about this in the past. All of these devices that we're bringing in on our own, hooking up to our home, thinking it's for our safety, to prevent porch pirates, to prevent burglaries and all this other stuff, is all being used by the government. They're the ones who are accessing the Ring cameras. They're the ones who are accessing your Alexa, all of it. It's just this spy world that we're living in. Instead of putting us all in a big prison, we can't fit into one. All the citizens of the world can't fit into a large prison cell. There's not a big enough one yet. So they've used our homes and built them into virtual prisons. Look at this commercial and then start thinking to yourself when they show you images like introducing Search Party, how, oh, that's so nice. Amazon's gonna work with their Ring device with local police, and if my dog goes missing, well, it'll connect to everybody else's phone and we'll be able to bring the puppy home. And then start thinking to yourself who this really is for when you start thinking about social credit systems and a world that looks exactly like China looks. This is airing during the Super Bowl because this is the type of propaganda that they use to normalize this tech. And of course, the sheeple out there will think that we're all crazy and that the government, Amazon just came up with this idea because they want to help and they care so much about us.
This is Milo. Pets are family. But every year, 10 million go missing. And the way we look for them hasn't changed in years. Until now. One post of a dog's photo in the Ring app starts outdoor cameras looking for a match. Search Party from Ring uses AI to help families find lost dogs. Since launch, more than a dog a day has been reunited with their family. Be a hero in your neighborhood with Search Party. Available to everyone for free right now. Join the neighborhood at ring.com.
So that's the frightening reality that they're building out. Ring Super Bowl ad and listen thoroughly because I have other things to get into, because a lot of you go, oh, now I see where we're going with this, where suddenly the search party isn't to find your dog or your cat, and eventually when they tell you it's to find your child, it won't be for that either. It'll be to find people like you and me who disagree online with what the government's doing, when the government suddenly tells you that you have to wear a mask every day and you can no longer leave your house, and people who aren't vaccinated are no longer good citizens and need to be targeted by psychopathic citizens who want to take away everybody's freedom. So Super Bowl 2026 will contain Ring's first Super Bowl commercial, and the look at the spot I just showed you, the ad is dedicated to raising awareness about Ring's search party feature, which recently expanded to be available to non-Ring camera owners as well. So all the tech on the outside of the home hooking up to one another, all the tech on the inside of the home hooking up with one another. And don't forget, during COVID, how many human beings were a part of this eventual experiment who were hooking up to Bluetooth by themselves, right? We all remember that. So they say we're showing something that I think is such an incredible invention that's affecting so many people's lives and bringing dogs back. It's an amazing achievement. So I'm pretty excited, right? And keep in mind how many children go missing every year. You couldn't go missing if you wanted to go missing in this world. That's how many cameras are already out there. But children go missing every year. Let's start with dogs. Let's play on people's heartstrings from there. And then, of course, we'll move to children. And then from there, we'll just move to regular citizens. So the 30-second spot, and it starts with a happy moment. A young girl receives a puppy named Mila, as you saw. They go on to talk about how pets or family, 10 million go missing everywhere. They'll start looking at the covens. Like I said, how do your dogs and cats go missing? Huh? Who wants to take your pet? Has anyone come to your home and been like, you know what? I love this dog so bad. Even though it's one of my best friends, I'm going to steal her dog. I want to live with the dog. I want the dog. There's no other dogs out there for me to adopt. 10 million dogs go missing. They run away and go where? There's cameras on every street corner, okay? This is not about finding your dog. It's about what they showed you, building out a search party where you see all of that tech all wirelessly connected to one another. And do you remember a couple of years ago, because it's the same propaganda. It's the same propaganda I've been covering. The microchip propaganda that was out there, whether it was the Freemasons trying to get children chipped in the chip ID program, or just all the stories about there's hurricanes and you need to get your cat chipped or your dog chipped. Oh, look at this guy. Just a recent story. These come out every day, this propaganda. Cat missing for 11 months, reunited with owners thanks to microchip. Well, where was the cat? I got to tell you where the cat is because they just need to put the propaganda out there, right? But thanks to the hero, the microchip, thanks to the hero, the surveillance state they're building out, nobody will go missing. Nobody will. We'll just find the bad guys out there. June, National Microchipping Month. For anybody out there wondering, want free microchips? That's one of the things the government will give you. They'll poison you for free. They'll give men tampons in the men's restrooms for free. And they'll put microchips inside of your dogs and your cats for free. And you might say, well, I'm never, ever, ever doing that. Well, for starters, if you didn't know, if you try to adopt a pet from another country, you got to get them chipped to bring them back to yours. This is how it goes in the UK to America. They make you get the cat chipped, make you get the dog chipped, right? But don't worry about that, because just this week there was a story out there about a dog owner who was fined for not getting his dog microchipped. Now, if I told you that 10 years ago, you would say this is absolutely ridiculous. The people need to do something about this. The people need to go against the government for putting this technology inside the dog. But again, what's happened in the last 10 years? There's so much crap out there. There's so much propaganda every day that people are fighting for all the wrong reasons instead of looking at government overreach. So the Amazon sidewalk, which is something I've already warned about, all these things connecting. Look at this. This is the hell that they're building out. It starts like this, and it turns into smart communities, and it turns into, 15-minute smart cities, right? You got your street lamp connected to your car, connected to a building that you know nothing about, connected to a bakery, connected to somebody else's brain, right? We have the flock surveillance all around us. Never given the government approval to do this. They just stick these things up, and then they just, frequent visitor, vehicle type, color, unique alterations, license plate, right? Constantly watching us. More police agencies using flock cameras to fight crime. Are they? Are they using it to fight crime? Are they using it to track and get people used to full-on 24-hour surveillance? Just like I talked about the Ring, right? The Ring expanding police access to doorbell footage. The police are automatically allowed to access your Ring if you put it on your home. Us building out this AI governance technocracy for the government, right? And then it goes to Palantir. That's where this all heads, Palantir. It heads to these companies like Palantir. Because here's a perfect example if you don't know where this is headed. Let's use a story that the sheeple fall for. All these school shootings, whatever side it's on, right? Because when there's a trans shooter, the conservatives think it's a real story. They want the trans people to have red flag laws, not realizing by wanting red flag laws that they're eventually used against them when they put someone like Gavin Newsom in office. And again, everybody will just cancel out one another's freedoms like they've already done with free speech. But remember this shooter in Minnesota, right? Of course, we got a guy with long hair. We have Melania Trump talk about the tragic mass killing in Minnesota illuminates the need for preemptive intervention in identifying potential school shooters. Early warning signs are often evident, with many individuals exhibiting concerning behaviors and making violent threats online prior to their actions, right? And of course, they can define that any way they want. There's people, I have channels removed over 80, okay? For anyone who's like, where have you been? I've been around, having to make new names up, having to dodge. Then, of course, they bring my channel back because we all know they're data mining me, which means I'm not going to be here much longer, whether I decide to terminate the channel myself or they do it. Either way, they consider this a dangerous, harmful channel by pointing these out to you. I wish no violence on trans. I wish no violence on non-trans. I wish no violence on anyone, black, white, Hispanic. I really don't give a crap as long as I'm left alone. But obviously we live in a world where the government will just not leave us alone, and they want more and more of this enslavement tech around us, which is why I constantly warn people. But they can easily decide what behavior is a violent threat and what isn't. If I told you 20 years ago calling someone an FAG was the type of thing that would get you thrown in jail, you would have been on the ground laughing. You'd be like, are you out of your mind? What world are we living in where you can't say that or you can't say the word retarded without people getting offended and then wanting you in prison? Well, that's the world they've created through behavioral modification and behavioral control. So Melania Trump then starts calling for this, right? They start airing this to conservatives, right? And let me show you this clip because it's really important. After this government psyop of a shooting at a school, we had an IDF Israel, of course, agent who was a former actor who was on Fox News. And he was talking about how we could prevent these crimes by using AI, and we could detect who's a violent person, who's a dangerous threat beforehand, and arrest them. Does this sound like a world you want to live in? Because when you start thinking about the Ring cameras and search parties, if the government puts out propaganda and puts my voice in the TV and they go, oh yeah, even though all of you have listened to me over the years, and you go, oh, he would never do anything wrong, it'll be very easy for them to convince everyone, oh my gosh, he's the next violent offender. We got to find him. They put out a couple fake news stories. Suddenly the search party's out, right? And then you got like this type of technology getting normalized.
Because the First Lady Melania Trump just called for more, and this is quoting here, preemptive intervention when it comes to IDing school shooters. It's kind of your bailiwick, Aaron.
Trace, as you know, correct, 100%, and she's 100% correct. I am now about to launch Gideon, America's first ever AI threat detection platform built specifically for law enforcement. It scrapes the internet 24/7 using an Israeli-grade ontology to pull specific threat language and then routes it to local law enforcement. It's a 24/7 detective. It never sleeps, and it's going to get us in front of these attacks.
Would it have picked up on this, do you think?
100%. I wish my program would already be up. We're not launching until next week. I've got a dozen agencies on board, Trace. I just unloaded a major Northeast agency with over 2,700 sworn. This is America's early warning system.
And of course, that type of technology is called pre-crime. You may remember a movie which should be labeled under horror movies called Minority Report, where they talked about a world without crime and how easy it was to convince the sheeple that they could just arrest people at will based on their thoughts, based on the fact that maybe they were online questioning the government allowing certain people to get married or questioning the government forcing injections into people's bodies. And these people all had really bad social credit scores like we see in China. People didn't want digital IDs. People didn't want the mark of the beast. And suddenly they go, well, those are the people who are a real threat. Well, all these sheeple will believe it because it's going to be a world that looks like this.
Imagine a world without murder.
I lost my best friend.
I lost my aunt.
I lost my dad. I lost my father.
I lost my wife.
Just 6 years ago, the homicide rate in this country had reached epidemic proportions. It seemed that only a miracle could stop the bloodshed. But instead of one miracle, we were given 3, the precognitives. Within just 1 month under the pre-crime program, the murder rate in the District of Columbia was reduced 90%.
They were going to be waiting for me in the car.
He was going to rape me.
I was going to be stabbed.
Right here.
Within a year, pre-crime effectively stopped murder in our nation's capital.
In the 6 years we've been conducting our little experiment, there hasn't been a single murder.
And now pre-crime can work for you.
We want to make absolutely certain that every American can bank on the utter infallibility of this system, and to ensure that what keeps us safe will also keep us free.
Pre-crime? It works.
It works.
It works.
It works.
It works. It works.
On Tuesday, April 22nd, vote yes on the National Pre-Crime Initiative.
And from there, do you know where it goes? Because this is what's going on in the UK right now. The UK has opened up the doors to 15-minute city enforcement using your driver data that they're illegally collecting. Does it sound at all like Hunger Games? Because that's exactly what it is. They're going to have certain sections that you can drive in and out of. And if the license plate is read by their flock camera, and say you live, let's pick a state. Let's say you live in California and you want to go to Vegas and cross into Nevada. Let's say that's a sector, right? Each state's a sector. Well, guess what? If you enter Nevada as a resident of California, you will be fined and arrested. That's what they're working on rolling out this summer in the UK. Does it sound like the districts in Hunger Games? Yeah, and here they are bragging about living this way at the World Economic Forum.
For policies really to change the rules of the game, no? So that sustainability becomes the easier choice, not just for the people, but also for the companies, no? So I think an important measure in Switzerland was to have support for renewable energy, for energy efficiency, but also then changing the way districts work. For instance, in Zurich, we have a lot of districts where you actually don't need a car because all the activities, school, buying something, everything you can do in walking distance, And by doing that, people don't buy a car, and it's not felt like actually they would like to have a car and they are not allowed to have it, but they simply don't need it because the environment was built in a way that they don't need it. And I think this is what policy needs to do. They have to change the environment. So a sustainable lifestyle, a lifestyle in harmony with nature is the easiest way to go. And also for the companies. And here perhaps a last point. I really like what you said on following through. We had all these nice commitments. We had the Paris Agreement. We also here at World Economic Forum have every year very nice commitments. What's important is really to follow through.
So they're talking about this like it's in our benefit. Like this douchebag who's like, oh man, it's going to be great. You could do with everything you want within 15 minutes, right? Well, you know who else could do everything they want within 15 minutes? People who are in prison. They can go and they can eat, then they can get back in their cell, then they can go drop the soap later that night, and the shower's only about 5 minutes away. Then they can go out in the courtyard for 10 minutes, and everything is within 5 to 10 to 15 minutes of one another. Does that sound wonderful to you? Because that's exactly what this is. And when you look at the technology and you realize how they work you with things like dogs and cats and surveillance because your pet goes missing and some little girl is crying in the streets. And then you start thinking to yourself, well, what about little kids that go missing? Maybe we need this type of technology, even though it's your government who has been using our tax money, building out underground tunnels for decades, more than decades, and all the missing children are underground, but everybody always looks where they're told because the government tells you there's a flight log and everybody goes over to this island instead of going, what's underneath our feet? They're all underneath our feet, okay? All of them. But they'll convince everybody that this wonderful technology from Jeff Bezos, aka DARPA, who, again, as I've mentioned, all these videos are on my website, okay? There's thousands of videos there. Jeff Bezos' grandfather, DARPA. We know Elon Musk's grandfather was one of the founders of technocracy, right? This is what they're building out. And then there's other things floating around. When you start thinking about, okay, so in the UK, they're going to have 15-minute city enforcement. So they're not going to let you enter certain provinces, and if you do, you're going to be taxed, right? So if you want to go see grandma and she lives one town over, tough. You can't see grandma, you will be taxed, and then the carbon laws will come into play, and all work exactly how they have planned. Here's other things going on. Government kill switch in your next car, right? A kill switch in your car. They could shut your car off, but what do? Well, they say, well, we're going to just use it on drunk drivers. It's drunken driving tech, right? So if you're in your car, and you breathe, and you have alcohol in your breath, we'll shut your car off, and we'll protect everyone, right? Oh, and then everyone goes, okay, that sounds like a safe idea, right? Then you go, well, wait a minute. Just as many people get in accidents texting and driving. In fact, I see more dangerous people texting who just swerve in and out because they can't get off their phones. They seem a little bit more dangerous than even a drunk driver this day and age. And then they'll go, you know what? Okay, yeah, we'll make sure that the device can't be on. We'll do this. And then all of a sudden they'll just go, well, now we have a really bad outbreak. And people are getting a common cough and runny nose again. It's COVID-25, honey 6, whatever they label it. And people go, oh, yeah, well, half the world will be in, half the world will be out. And they'll say, well, these people shouldn't be allowed to leave their homes unless they're vaccinated. And this is a way we can prevent it. So when they get in their car, if we determine through, using a black light or something, being able to see under their skin, which again is what it's all about, under the skin surveillance that Yuval Harari and all these guys have been talking about for years. And then they determine that you are not vaccinated, your car will shut off, right? Do you see where the control mechanisms go and how they play it into your emotion? Oh, drunken driving. Oh, everyone will agree. Well, we don't want drunk drivers on the road. Oh, okay. And everyone will agree. We don't want pets going missing. And we don't want cats going missing. And we don't want kids going missing. So they do this stuff so they can implement all of this tech. And then you get the people who go, well, Donald Trump will never allow this. Well, he won't be here in 4 years, will he? Or 8 or 10? Whatever they decide to do with their fake election, when everything is put in place, and then they can put some psychotic liberal in like Newsom, who will have people arrested for calling someone a queer. I mean, because that's what we're headed towards, right? Or whatever it is. Whatever example you want to use. A racial term, calling somebody fat, calling somebody ugly. That's what we'll be headed towards, right? But Donald Trump's already doing this. The sanctuary cities, all the stuff we see Trump doing, right? Right-wing planning to take over sanctuary cities, rebuild them, MAGA style, right? Remember Agenda 47, the freedom cities? These freedom cities are going to be smart cities. They're just labeled different. Remember when he was talking about it?
Past generations of Americans pursued big dreams and daring projects that once seemed absolutely impossible. They pushed across an unsettled continent and built new cities in the wild frontier. They transformed American life with the interstate highway system. Magnificent it was. And they launched a vast network of satellites into orbit all around the Earth. But today, our country has lost its boldness. Under my leadership, we will get it back in a very big way. If you look at just 3 years ago, what we were doing was unthinkable. How good it was, how great it was for our country. Our objective will be a quantum leap in the American standard of living. That's what will happen. Here are just a few of the ways we can do it. Almost 1/3 of the land mass of the United States is owned by the federal government, with just a very, very small portion of that land, just a fraction, 1/2 of 1%. Would you believe that? We should hold a contest to charter up to 10 new cities and award them to the best proposals for development. In other words, we'll actually build new cities in our country again. These freedom cities will reopen the frontier, reignite American imagination, and give hundreds of thousands of young people and other people, all hardworking families, a new shot at home ownership and, in fact, the American dream. Another big opportunity is in transportation. Dozens of major companies in the United States and China are racing to develop vertical takeoff and landing vehicles for families and individuals. Just as the United States led the automotive revolution in the last century, I want to ensure that America, not China, leads this revolution in air mobility. These breakthroughs can transform commerce, bring a giant infusion of wealth into rural America, and connect families in our country in new ways. Likewise, through our Strategic National Manufacturing Initiative, which is going to be very big and very, very successful, we will turn forgotten communities into hives of industry, producing the goods we will no longer import from China. We will also have a major initiative on lowering the cost of living with a special focus on lowering the cost of a new car and lowering the cost to build a single-family home. And they will be beautiful homes. And I will ask Congress to support baby bonuses for young parents to help launch a new baby boom. Finally, I'll challenge the governors of all 50 states to join me in a great modernization and beautification campaign, getting rid of ugly buildings, refurbishing our parks and our public spaces, making cities and towns more livable, ensuring a pristine environment, and building towering monuments to our true American heroes. Very importantly, I will also make sure all of these new places are safe. We love and cherish our police. They will do the job the way they have to. It is time to start talking about greatness for our country again. I will dramatically increase living standards and build a future that brings our country together through excitement, opportunity, and success.
And this is a world that is fully controlled through tech. And who do we see buddied up with all these tech guys more than anyone? Well, we see Trump, right? Peter Thiel, one of his butt buddies, Elon Musk, and all the scam with Doge to try to build up trust with conservatives. All of a sudden, this guy's got trans kids and he's coming out talking about trans insanity. And you just go, huh? You got a trans kid. And he's like, well, it's not my fault. I didn't do it to him. It's the world that convinced them that they're trans. And in fact, I'm going to go out of my way to pretend to be Christian all of a sudden, even though I want to get a brain chip in everyone's body. And then I'm going to tell everybody out there, hey, I'm going to save you tax money. And we're going to get rid of ridiculous government programs like Sesame Street in Iraq. And all of a sudden, all these people who 5 years ago would have hated the guts of Elon Musk love him and trust him, even though they've got no money in return, right? Because all it takes is a little bit of tickling of the ears. Right now, Mark Zuckerberg, who was anti-Trump all those years, we all got censored, right? YouTube, Facebook, anybody talking against the vaccines and nanotech, censored. Trump, oh my gosh, these people should be arrested. Oh, now they're best buddies, right? Zuckerberg's now a MAGA guy. Bezos is now a MAGA guy. Musk is now a MAGA guy. That's what they're building out, right? And then you get all these other futuristic neighborhoods. We've talked about the line. Google's building one out in Toronto. Elon Musk's company towns, using these different names to convince, oh, it's a company town. Oh, well, it's going to have conservative ideologies. I'll move to the company town. It's all the same. It's a system and a city of control, all through technology. And who's the one bringing it in? Good old Donald, right? The son of perdition himself, who's doing what the World Economic Forum has been trying to do for the past 4 to 8 years, and the United Nations, creating smart city governance, AI governance alliance. That's the new world order. That's the Tower of Babel rebuilt. So you could look at a commercial like that and you could think nothing of it. But if you see a commercial like that with the ring and you think nothing of it, then you're not thinking. You're on cruise control. Your brain is on autopilot because you should be seeing that stuff and saying to yourself, right. But what if all of a sudden they put a crazy liberal in power? And then they start using that technology saying that, oh, there's guys online with YouTube channels who have big subscribers. They could lead an uprising. Oh, let's go after them and everyone will look great, right? Or another conservative psychopath gets put in power. And he says, we want all the gay people arrested and all the Mexican people arrested, huh? What if you're one of those people? Wouldn't you say, we don't want them to have that type of technology? Well, they have it and they're building it out. And they do this stuff to get us to accept the technology because they want you to think it's something to benefit the world. The world could survive fine without connecting to one another to find missing dogs. All the people would need to do is grab their pitchforks and look for local covens who meet, in Freemason lodges, Eastern Star lodges, and realize, oh, that's where all the missing pets are going. They're being eaten there. Go look under the McMartin preschool at all the animal bones, right? And if you want to go from there and you want to say, well, what about all the kids? Well, we all want to save the missing children. We all pray for missing children. There's nothing more heartbreaking than thinking about that. Go look under your feet. Look at your underground tunnels. They tell you to look up, then look down. They tell you to look at an island that just conveniently is sitting there. Look in the other direction, like at Zorro Ranch or all these other underground tunnels that are connected to these places that they've been practicing eugenics for decades. So sure, you can look at it and say I'm overreacting. I've been yelling and screaming about it for years. I'm not going to be yelling and screaming about it for much longer. But hopefully people see this and realize they're using the Super Bowl. That's why I cover it, because it's the most watched program. And it's called a program because they're programming people out there to accept this type of stuff. Then they go to the water cooler and they're like, what was your favorite commercial? And they bring up the commercials like Sheeple, and someone goes, how cool is that one with the missing dogs? It's a woman with 4 dogs, 2 cats, no kids, nothing wrong with that. Okay, I don't got kids. So sure, and she loves her dogs, and she's, oh my gosh, I was always worried my dog might go missing or something like that. Instead of going, why would anyone even want to take my dog? Why would my dog go missing in the first place, right? And she says, I think that's great. We should have that type of technology in case my dog goes missing. And then they tell a friend and they tell 2 friends and so on and so forth. And then it just spreads. And suddenly you just go, wow, we've really built out a surveillance state. Because if you told people in the 80s they'd have things like the Alexa in their home, these devices would listen to them. that they would actually put cameras on their own home. Think about that. People go, you out of your mind? Put cameras on my home, in my home, not knowing where it goes. Like, oh, it goes into a cloud. Oh, does it? What does that mean? None of them can explain it. It goes to the NSA. And you might go, well, I don't care what's going on. Oh, yeah? You care if your kid's walking around naked? Do you care if they're watching you have sex with your wife or your husband or whoever you're with? Do you care about any of that stuff? Do you care if you have a conversation on the phone and maybe you get a little tipsy and you say something like, I don't know, I don't trust the government, and then they show up at your door? You will care. You will. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.